Today I feel like singing that song. I know a song that gets on everybody's nerves, everybody's nerves, everybody's nerves. After yesterday, because yesterday was one of those days where my nerves got shot quickly. And I'm not a person that usually ends up like that. So I want to talk about it just a little bit. If you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Tidkemeier. I used to write for Pathos, a column called No Longer Quivering that had to do with the evangelical quiverful movement. If you could do the YouTube things that like, subscribe, that would be awesome. These are just my opinions. Don't bully anyone. Don't even be rude in the comments. So, why was I cranky yesterday? Well, it was a whole long factor of things living here in Costa Rica. And one of the biggest and the dumbest, I just have to say this, I'm going to flip this hair around again because it is making me insanely hot. So I'm going to flip it to the other side away from the air conditioner. Well, okay. I'm not as cranky as I was yesterday, thank God. That was just, it was not a good day. We had so many stupid things happen. I think the stupidest one that made me the angriest is I could not walk the beach when I wanted to because somebody that my husband refused to say no for because he's very sorry for her decided at the last second to come walk the beach. I mean, not come walk the beach, to use our pool. And the problem is we can't get rid of her. When she comes, she doesn't come for a half hour or an hour. She will loll around our pool trying to engage my husband in conversation for hours on end. And it just becomes a problem for me. I can't tell you the things we've had scheduled we have to push back because my husband will not say no to people, which kind of blows my mind. So there was that. And so we got to the beach walk so late yesterday that it was just wall to wall people. And this is one of those beaches where I'm pulling out my beach, my sea nuts I got yesterday, my sea beads. Wall to wall people. Ooh, I wasn't really sure what kind this was going to be. Got to soak them for 24 hours or for 12 hours to get all the crap off of them. So I showed up to walk in my usual spot, which is Las Bales, Parco Nacional. Okay. I know I'm mangling that. My Spanish is not great. Playa Grande. It's an enormous beach. And usually when I go to Playa Grande, there's nobody or there's less than 5 or 10 people there. And I've always laughingly referred to that as my private beach. I'm about, I guess, if you went that way, 1.5 miles. But since between me and there is an airport and swampland, I have to go the long way around. It takes me about 10 minutes to get there, 10 to 15 minutes. So, and depending upon the traffic. So we get there and it's everybody and their brother. And that's one thing, but everybody and their brother were doing crap they're not supposed to do. For you see, Playa Grande, Las Bales, is a national park, but it is also a turtle hatchery. So the giant sea turtles that come ashore to lay eggs, lay them at Playa Grande that way. And one of the things I still haven't done, been living here all these years, is take a flashlight and go walk Playa Grande at night because you can see the turtles coming ashore and laying eggs. And this happens off and on throughout the year. So the rules there are you cannot have dogs. You're not allowed to dig in the sand. You're not supposed to smoke. You're not supposed to drink, and you're not supposed to litter. There's all these rules because of the turtles. And for good reason, because there's been times when dogs have dug up turtle eggs. And people messing around digging have dug up turtle eggs. And hey, Janice, a lot of the big turtles now are endangered. So that's why this is so important. So I walked in there yesterday and it's like dog city, people digging, looking for turtle eggs. Others walking around smoking, throwing the butt down and relighting. Others taking their plastic bottles like this, like me drinking out of my Vitarain Zero, and beer cans and tossing them. I am very anti-litter, even if it was not a national park. But what was interesting about it was there's nobody policing this crap, and you probably have 500 people on that beach doing this, where there is usually 5. I usually walk with a trash bag and pick up trash as I'm going. Yesterday I didn't, but when I got there and saw those people, like, what the hell? Because I wanted to beach walk and sea bean hunt. So I was like, I am never going to find sea beans here with all these people. Not only did I find sea beans, I found one that's kind of rare for here. I got to show you. I found 2 of them. This is a sea heart. I found myself 2 sea hearts, a hard to find sea bean. And I found a pile of these little guys, and I still haven't chased down exactly where these came from. The last time I found one of these, it looked a little bit different than this, and it was actually from Tierra del Fuego. I think this one may be one of those. I found a Jamaican walnut, wrong side of the country. And it's interesting because if you read about these wonderful little things, bees can travel around for 2 years on the ocean to get to wherever they're going. So it's not unheard of for you to get a bean that came from the other side of the world, that came from around Africa, Tierra del Fuego. And like I said, I got the Jamaican nut, which was actually from the Caribbean. So that was all really cool, and that helped my mood last night tremendously, because so many people were trashing the beach. Please come to the beach here. Ignore the cranky ladies like us, that like me, that want privacy and want, well, not privacy, you want peace and quiet. There was none of that last night. So that was what was screwing with me. So I had to go to one of the areas where there aren't that many people. And my husband said, hey, there was nobody in Las Ventanas, which is the next beach down you go to by squeezing past the rocks. So next time I go there like that, I'm going to make that stomp down to the other end and squeeze over to Ventanas. And I occasionally will walk Las Ventanas myself, or I'll go even further over to Playa Prieta, some of the other ones around there, and walk. I like to commune with nature naturally, without listening to people playing their radios full blast, dogs barking, people digging crap up that they're really not supposed to ever dig up. Okay, that's my gringo tourist rant of the day. The main reason I decided to come on this morning is because of Michelle Goes Live. I've mentioned her briefly here a number of times. Michelle caught my fancy because of her drama, her constant drama, all the crazy stuff she gets into. And I was not thrilled with any of that. It's like, oh my goodness, no. Well, turns out, yeah, I've barely spoken about her lately. Turns out she has decided to share my personal Facebook page, which is just family members and close real life friends on. It's not open to the public. I've never said word one about Michelle there ever. Michelle has reported it as a hate page. Some of her followers have too. So many people reported my personal Facebook page as a hate page that Facebook reached out to me and said, what is going on here? We're getting hundreds of complaints that your Facebook page is a hate page, but we just keep seeing pictures of monkeys and the beach. Are you bullying the monkeys? And I was like, no, ignore. That's just one random YouTuber lunatic. So I'm coming on today to say, Michelle, knock it off. Knock it off. Unlike a lot of your people you fight with, I've got money. I could crush you like a bug. But I tend not to sue people who have nothing. So there's that. I don't make it a habit of doing so. But I'm asking you nicely to knock it off. and saying that you need serious help. You need to check yourself inpatient somewhere and please get help. Last night, the fake to suicides was just ridiculous. Very ridiculous. Listen to Ski Mask Andy. He actually had some helpful things he said to you recently, and you've just blown him off. I mean, just quit it. Stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. That's just stupid. Okay. If there was some long-term thing about it, that's one thing. But this, yeah, not a thing. Okay. I wanted to share with you guys. I know everybody loves designer purses except for me. I do have a designer purse very similar to this one that I bought at a thrift shop for $5. And it was originally a couple of hundred, I think, something like that. And it was brand new shape. The other day, I bought a brand spanking new purse for very little. This bad boy, $35. In Costa Rica, that is unbelievable. A Dakine, Dakine. I'm starting to carry a small purse instead of a big one. I've carried a big one for years. Why? Because the big ones are giving me horrible backaches and they are unbalancing me. So I'm making this switch. The thing that really attracted me to this one, besides the fact that I could look at it and see it was pretty well made, that's my shopping list. I'm going shopping, is the fact that it's made of recycled materials and it has a small carbon footprint. I am all about that. I'm all about recycled everything. So one of the things that I've been doing lately is watching all these gardening videos. There are just tons of them, tons. And about container gardening, because I've been very unsuccessful gardening here, except for when I grow things that are actually from here. Then I have a lot of success. I have a huge orchard on my land. But I've been unsuccessful growing simple things like lettuce and tomato. And in the States, I always use square foot gardening. I did a whole lot of gardening, very successful in a very small space. I tried to replicate that here. That does not work in Costa Rica, I found out. So I found somebody who is in a tropical climate like this, who's container gardening. And I'm excited. I started using some of their tips, and I've already started to get lots of good roots on my garlic. So I'm starting with garlic, cucumbers, and tomatoes. Target has had a line of scarves made from recycled polyester. Love mine. Tamara, I love that idea. That is such a cool thing, I think. And so I try to buy like that when I can. This was a surprise because I didn't expect to find one that I liked and a color I liked. But there it is. So new purse. And this is complex for me because I usually carry a lot of stuff. But what I did is I figured out a way to put it in one central location in the car. And if somebody steals my Kleenex or my other stuff, then they must need it. So I'm getting ready to do gardening again, and I'm going to let you guys know, and there'll be pictures, there may even be videos if it's successful. So far, so good. Container gardening is what I have to do because of my balance. The guys that work for us built me square foot gardening frames, and it's just a no bueno on so many levels. So I will be planting my gardening frame with mango trees and cacti. I actually have my cacti and my mango trees pretty well grown, the little seedlings. So I'm getting ready to burn it, transform it, and then garden only in containers. So I'll let you guys know how it goes. But my Costa Rica tip of the day is, if you live here, you're going to lose water. Why? Because like everything else in Costa Rica, they're trying to be first world. They're really mostly second world. In their days, we're just going to be third world. In dry season like this, what happens is the 5 trillion million leaks in the system that are not exposed during rainy season are obvious during dry season. So they do a lot of repair to the system during dry season, which means you'll get a nice little email telling you, hey, you're going to lose water from 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. And I have learned living here, you have to have gray water. What I do is I have these huge containers that contain laundry soap. You know the ones I mean, those big containers with a handle on 'em. I have a whole line of those, like 15 of them, full of gray water, and I use it on days like today to flush the toilet. I try to save what's in our tank because that's the other thing we do here is we have a huge, like 65, 70-gallon tank up on a platform so that when the system goes down, we still have some water. We have some water that is very slow, but it's water to cook with and to drink. I try to save it for those essential things, wash it on vegetables, not for flushing the toilet. So there you go. And one of the things that I love about being here is that you have to figure out what you're doing. You have to figure out ways around everything. I like that. I lived with that in Germany when we first got married, and we lived in Germany for like 3 or 4 years. I liked having to figure out, okay, so now where do I go for this? And how do I do this? I liked it so well and did it so well. I worked at the USO after I'd been there 6 months or so as the outreach director, where basically I just went into the economy and visited all the wives who have newly arrived, gave them a ton of information on where to do things, how to do it, all that stuff, and help people out when they got in a jam. Like one time I was at a lady's house and someone came from the electric company to tell her she needed to put down a deposit. And my German was good enough in those days where I could say, no, 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 she's US military. You cannot demand a deposit. And fought with the guy, and I got her out of like a $200 deposit. So there you go. That was my job. And I love living like that. I love living where everything is not so obvious and easy. I love the puzzle nature of it. I told my husband I wouldn't have minded being a detective because I enjoy that. I enjoy figuring stuff out. So that's basically all I really have to say today. I wasn't going to talk about Michelle anymore at all, but when she started sharing my personal Facebook page, then it became, oh no, girl. And when Facebook contacted me and said, we're getting reports that this is a hate page, but we don't understand what's going on, I was like, well, what's going on is a lunatic reported my page over and over and over again when my personal page has nothing to do with anything. It's just my family and friends. So, hope you have a great day. Angela, I don't know if you're still here. Uh, I got your message. I just haven't responded yet. I am spending a lot less time on social media. That was the last thing I wanted to talk about. I knew there was something that I hadn't spoke about. Let's see if I can pull it up. One of the things that's both interesting and sometimes enraging, and I have to say sometimes it is, and many times it breaks my heart, is when people I don't know contact me out of the blue, either by messenger or by, um, I mean, YouTube, not do YouTube, I'm sorry, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of that. When they try to contact me about NLQ and stuff like, oh my God, I left my church and I'm so depressed, I want to kill myself. Please help. Things like that. Or people saying, hey, did you see the latest that so and so said about such and such? I want you to write about this right now. I'm demanding you write about this thing. And sometimes it's just people with overwhelming problems. Sometimes it's people making demands. Many times it's demands upon my time, which I don't always have a lot of here. You'd think when you retire that you would have a lot of time, but I don't. So because of the depression recently and the stress that I've been under with my family in Louisiana and trying to cope here with various things and trying to do some things long distance, and the book, the awful book that I'm writing, and my husband is currently editing, and it's like not going well. He likes to change what I've said sometimes. And I finally just said, look, ignore that. I just want you to say if the grammar here is right or whatever. And even that, there's some things I've written that I don't want him to change it around, grammar bad or not. So the pressure and stuff is just getting to me, and I just don't have a lot of patience or time right now. So I came up with an email that I put together explaining how, and I'm going to put this on my YouTube too, explaining what my policy is right now. And I don't know, it may be for 6 months, it may be for 6 minutes. I don't know. I wrote this little blurb that I've been sending to people who I don't know that contact me. Greetings. Thank you for reaching out to me, but at this time I'm taking a social media sabbatical in preparation for the publication of my book and due to the increasing demands of my family. If you reached out to me to ask me about Katie Joy without a crystal ball, please refer to the frequently asked questions on my YouTube channel. If you're contacting over subjects I covered for Pathos in my column No Longer Quivering, please be advised I concluded 10 successful years of daily columns over 2 years ago, and I will not be updating any of that content. All content is being currently migrated over to the website for my book with strangefire.com. Be blessed, be well, and best wishes. You know, I kind of hate doing that. I kind of hate having to do that, but I've kind of had to because of the nature of the contacts and how many of them I'm getting. So far, I've been pretty unsuccessful with it. I had some guy on Twitter who I do not know that was going around liking every religious post I made, and he's reaching out. Oh, hey, waving back from Costa Rica. And here it is merely noon. So I kind of hated doing that to this guy the other day and some others. But at the same time, I really need some self-care right now. And that's where I am. That's why I've been going every day to the beach. There is no greater self-care for me than walking in the Pacific Ocean and looking for sea beads. It just fills my soul with delight when I do those things. And just trying to do other things and to be kinder to myself and have more conversations with my husband that are more fruitful. So I'm doing all this, and this guy contacts me, and I send him that, and he said he still comes back. So if you're doing that to me after I've asked you not to, I probably will block you because ain't nobody got time for that. I just don't. I'm trying to concentrate on me right now and what I need to do for myself. Hey, Moonchild. Actually, there are some black sand beaches near here. We looked at a townhouse. Well, not a townhouse. What was it? It was a duplex. It was a townhouse duplex about 2 minutes from the beach. You could look out any window and see the beach. I wanted that place, but there were a couple of things that was not going to work for us. Mostly that it had a staircase. We talked about we needed a one-story house because my husband has arthritic knees. So I had to let that one go. But it had black sand. And black sand, if you're running across black sand, let me tell you something about black sand. It holds all the heat. And as much as I cry and whine and carry on at noon, like right now when I'm on Playa Grande, and I run across that sand to get to the ocean, at least I can wear flip-flops and it won't be too bad. But on the black sand, oh my gosh, it was like walking on a cast iron skillet. It was like, I'm sure that my feet ended up blistering on the bottom, if I remember. It's been a while since I went there. It was Playa Negra. And that, it's kind of self-explanatory because Negra means black here. And it was all, the part of me is kind of like, why didn't we buy that place? Moonchild, the only thing that was upstairs in this house was a large, like, sitting area and the master bedroom. There were 3 beautiful large bedrooms downstairs. We could have easily lived downstairs and just kept that upstairs for anybody visiting us. It would have removed the need to have a guest house, where we have a guest house here. And it was probably about twice what we paid for this place. So they were asking gringo prices. And I know it's probably um, a bargain. It's probably worth a lot more than that now, probably as much as $500,000. But this place has increased even more than that. And we would have had to put in a fence. We would have had to put in a swimming pool. And I would have had to completely re-landscape the yard and change the covered garage into a covered sitting area outside, because we have like a porch that wraps around the front of our house. The ceiling is made out of teak and the floor is beautiful handmade ceramic tiles. And we're out there a lot. We're out there a lot sitting under the deck. I hang my clothes there. He puts his motorcycle in a part of it. We have all kinds of chairs. We have our dining room table, and all the chairs are out there. Yeah, I have a pool. That was one of the things that was a non-negotiable. We had to have a pool. We had to put it in here, but it's about half price of putting a pool in the States. So it was definitely a bargain. The house was a bargain because it had been on the market for forever. We got it for super cheap. Now we had to do some improvements immediately. We're getting ready to have to do another improvement and redo one of the other bathroom because it's getting I don't like it. So we're going to redo that. We've been slowly remodeling here. We first moved into this house. This room was the ugliest color I've ever laid eyes on. It was that harvest gold from the 1970s that had that greenish undertone. And I just told my husband, I was like, I can't sleep in that room very long. So we did paint this room very quickly. That was one of those compromises that you must make when you're married. I would have painted it a light turquoise. He wanted something else. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what he's doing. He's walking around outside. Who knows? So we painted this room. We painted all the bedrooms. No, Moonchild. I love my husband to death. He is brilliant. He has multiple degrees. He worked as an economist for the U.S. Department of Labor for like 30 years. And before that, he had worked for the, what do they call that thing? The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and he was in the military. Oh, he only likes white. Well, this soft butter yellow was a compromise, and I painted all the bedrooms in it. And it turned out it was a good thing because I'm able to decorate around that and put the blues and things in that I need for my soul to feel right. So I was able to do that. I painted the interior of the cabina a very light turquoise and decorated it how I wanted. We repainted the bedroom a very bright lime green that sometimes it's a bit much to take, but I kind of like it. It's the same sort of lime green that is on this bedspread. So you can see it. Probably not. This is going out there as soon as I finish a new quilt I'm working on because it's right for there, but not in here. Well, he can do some things, but he is not a handyman. That's nothing against him. He's just not his strength. And I knew that when I married him. I knew that was going to be an issue. So we should get people to come in. I do some of it, but even now I do very little. When we lived in the States, I did most of the plumbing. So yeah. So that's the case. Now I'm trying to nag him into painting the living room and the kitchen next and putting tile up in the kitchen because it is a dark rust. And I don't really like that color either. But I don't want white, which was his other suggestion, even though white would make the space look huge because it is huge. I have a kitchen that's like 3 to 4 times the size of the one I lived in Virginia, and the living room is easily double what we had before. No, Moonchild, finding people to work here, I'm going to riff on this a little bit, isn't hard. And it's actually reasonable. You can get people who work for as low as $4 an hour here. The problem becomes a lot of guys here are jacks of all trade, masters of very few. So we've gotten burned a few times, but not terribly. I had a guy that put in sidewalks for me so that I could keep working in the yard after having a stroke, and he just did the world's worst job. I think we're going to have somebody come in and redo all of that eventually. The guys who put in the pool did a fabulous job. They came in later and put in a hot tub and a deck for us, an outdoor deck with nothing over it. So they did a real good job. They're one of the guys that works on the chemicals of the pool. He comes out every week and does the chemical and scoop. He's really good. So when I find somebody here that's really good, I pay them $10 an hour because I want them to be well compensated. And I like things that are done right the first time. I tell everybody the 3 plumbers story. When we first moved into the house, we had in the master bath, the gasket, the wax seal underneath the toilet went bad and it was leaking everywhere. And I know how. Oh, yeah, that's the way to do it, Moonchild. And those properties have skyrocketed since COVID's been over. Everybody's property went up 2 or 3 times because everybody's piling in here buying stuff. So the 3 plumbers, the first guy we called was recommended by the guy who put in our pool, he and his crew. We called the guy. He came out. And this is something I used to do in our old house. You empty the toilet, you loosen the screws, lift the toilet off and put it aside. You get like a scraper and scrape up the gasket. I used to use a blow dryer and loosen the gasket up a little bit because it's just wax. Stick it down, stick the toilet on it, screw it down. It's that simple. It's a simple repair. But I'm in my 60s now, and I'm really done with being a plumber now. Completely done. If it's not plunging the toilet, I'm not doing it. So the first guy came out, and I didn't stand over and watch him. I didn't supervise what he was doing, which is something you must do here. He didn't replace the wax ring at all. He had a tube of silicone. He ran a bead of silicone around the base of the toilet and then charged us gringo prices. I'm allergic to the fumes from the silicone when it was curing. Every time he comes back to visit his new young girlfriend, he won't get married, so they leave. Yes, because if they marry him and they divorce him after they've had a child or 2, they'll be able to take a huge chunk of his assets. That's why he's smart not to marry them. He's obviously talked to somebody who clued him in on that. So I was really pissed off, and it leaked within a week. I called the guy and he said, I'm not coming back to fix it. I fixed it the first time. I'm not guaranteeing my work. So we asked around. We found another plumber. He came out and I said, do not use silicone. I'm allergic to the fumes. That means I can't use the bathroom for a week in there. And he said, no problem at all. So I didn't watch him. He showed me he had a wax ring. Turns out he used the wrong size wax ring on the toilet. And when he put the toilet back on, it was tilted like this. So he used a ton of silicone. And within a week, it leaked. And I called him up, and it was like, I don't guarantee my work. I did it. I did what you asked. So we had to call somebody out, another plumber, who's what I call a gringo plumber, because he charged way more than $10 an hour, but he fixed it right. But I also stood over him and said, are you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? So with him, he replaced the wax gasket. He got the right wax gasket. For me, I was ready to just pay and be done with it. But you really have to watch these jokers around here because they will try to rip you off if they can. Plumbers are the worst here in Florida because they know they've got you. That is the problem with plumbing in the States. I would call somebody out if I had to replace a hot water tank or something big. And that's why I didn't do that for little stuff, because if they're going to charge you $150 to come out to unclog your toilet or something like that, or to replace the innards in the inside of the toilet, I'm not paying that. I'm too much of a tightwad still to this day. There's some things I will pay for, there are things I won't pay for, okay? Just will not pay for. So you have to be really careful when you hire here, is what I've discovered. And there's some people I use regularly. Right now, we need to do a slight remodel in the other bathroom, and a plumber we used in the past who does a good job, we can't get a hold of him. And I don't want to fool around with the guy who installed my tankless hot water heater, because we had some issues with it at first too. Even though he's come back now and fixed it, but I had to get onto him because he kept doing all these fixes and none of them worked, and it was just so he must have come 10 times. And we never did get completely fixed before we had to go to the States for my daughter's birthday. So what I had to do was shut off the water of the house when we left, which was kind of a hassle, it turned out. So we were doing that for a while until we could get the plumber out to replace the tank. Because we installed a hot water tank, we first moved in here almost 6 years ago. It leaked like a sieve after just a short period of time. So last summer we had to replace it. So we went tankless. So that now you know a lot about living in Costa Rica. It's a beautiful place. Cost of living is a lot cheaper, but you have to be smart about living here. You can't trust everybody. And when you have repairs done, you really need to keep your eye on what the person's doing. You really do. And I'm always nervous about having somebody come in now, because my husband and I got COVID because the guy who came in to custom build some furniture for us had active COVID when he was in our house, and we ended up with it. So that was no bueno, as they say. No bueno at all. I have no desire to have that repeat experience ever. Thankfully, I got it after I'd been vaccinated and boosted a couple of times. So I didn't get a really bad case. I didn't even realize I had COVID until a full week into it. So I was actually on the backside of it and starting to recover when I actually got my diagnosis. So that was a little strange. That was one of my experiences here. Okay, you guys, I got to go. I am getting ready to leave any minute now to go to Liberia. I'm planning on hitting Universal. I'm planning on hitting Pequeño Mundo. Those are big department stores there. I'm planning on going to PriceMart, which is the same thing as Costco, where I get my lovely Kirkland brand products sometimes. And I got to hit Walmart, that evil that is everywhere in the world. Love you guys. Thank you for watching. And I'll be back when I have something to say. And Michelle, remember, please do not share my personal Facebook. I have nothing against you. I just want you to be well.